Hi guys, welcome to part 3 of this Azure series. Now, if you've watched the first two videos, you'll remember that the first of the series was just simply giving some advice around, setting up your Azure console and picking your right virtual server and the right disk size, etc., etc. And then the second part was actually setting up a virtual machine in the Azure console. And then as part of setting up the Azure console and the virtual machine in the console, sorry, it was then getting it uh, domain controller ready, so to speak. So just doing some of the settings around the static IP all at the console level before going into the actual virtual machine to continue the configuration. So now with this, what I'm going to do is show you how to get into the machine. So once that's all up and running, simply you can connect through remote desktop. And to do that, you would simply go into Connect. And from in Connect, you would then open up the virtual machine by downloading the remote desktop protocol file. And as you can see down here, it then gives me the option to open that up, click on Connect, and then when you click on Connect, it then throws up the credentials that you have to put in. I'm already logged in at the moment as TN admin, so this is a local administrator to that particular server that will allow me to do all the configuration and then make it into a domain controller. So let me just cancel that out and go straight into it. So I've just allowed the initial sort of setup to take its course, and then it's come onto the screen here. I suppose we can allow it to be discoverable on the network. But in Server Manager, this is obviously where we start setting up the local server. So some of the things you may want to do here is the time zone. One thing that I typically turn off is this enhanced security. I just find that a bit of a mess around. As I said, when it's a test server, I just like to keep things simple and then switch things on as and when needed to find out whether something's working or not. You can see it's in a work group, so this is what we're going to be focusing on changing in this particular video. As I said, there's other things that you can do there, changing the time zone, depending on what you want to do with Windows updates, etc., etc. But the focus, again, as I say, for this particular video is to set this up so it is a domain controller for my network. And to do that, we would simply go into the manage and add roles and features. And then from in here, it's going to then say what you want to do before you begin. We're going to do a roles-based or features-based installation. And we'll select the server from the server pool. Obviously, there's just the one there at the moment, the domain controller. And from here, I then get some choices of which roles I want to do. I want to set this up for domain services. So the role I'm going to select is the Active Directory Domain Services role, and these are the things it's going to do when adding the features to this server. Obviously I can create more options and do other things here, but for this particular demonstration I'm just going to keep it simple and do the ADDS. Click on next. Again, other features that you can install on here, we'll just jump on those and then go straight down into the final screen, which is the confirmation about what it's going to do. It's going to say restart, but I don't want it to restart at the moment. There's a few more things I want to do towards the end of the configuration. And then we click on install. And as you can see, the installation process to get this into a domain controller is underway. At this stage, I'm probably going to pause it, as I think it's going to take a few minutes to complete this part. Okay, so that's now completed adding the features to this local server. And as you can see now, I've got a little warning sign, exclamation mark, on one of my icons at the top. So if I click on this, this means that I've got some actions to do. And we can see here the post deployment configuration means that I need to promote this server to a domain controller. So if I click on this, I can then continue the process. As you can see here, there's a number of options. I'm going to be obviously creating a new domain controller, and as such there, it's a completely new forest. So we'll click on add a new forest and root domain name. Let's have a look. We'll call it TNSM test. Okay, we're keeping it functional, keeping all the standard settings here. It's obviously going to need a password if it needs to restore. And we'll just jump through some of these options here. Okay, there's the net BIOS name, that's all assigned there. I'm going to keep all of these defaults here. As I said, the purpose of the video, and just to reiterate, it is just for testing purposes. So I'm just setting everything up with simple defaults. Again, should you want to configure things more, there's obviously plenty of documentation videos on the internet for you to follow, but ultimately it's just about creating a simple, cost-effective domain for testing purposes. At this point, I'm going to pause the video just to allow the configuration to continue. So back with the recording, I paused for a while just to get rid of all the dross and the bloat. I've since then logged in there, so it's just cleaned up some of the stuff it does from the earlier sort of configurations when it sort of sets you up for the first time. Major difference here is when I'm logging on to this machine now, I'm not logging on as a local administrator, but in fact I'm going in as a domain administrator. So you can see now when I created up the directory, the domain controller, I called it obviously TNSM. So there we are, slash TNadmin. So going to log in as that account. And that will log me into the system. And then I can continue doing the various configuration that I desire. So for example, if I want to change the date time settings, the system locales from US to UK, change obviously the dates and time, so it's obviously more in UK format. I can do all that now. So now I'm logged on as the domain administrator. As you can see, I've done a few little tweaks, such as changing the date time settings so it's in UK formats. But we'll note that when I go into the settings now and I click, you can see there's some new administrative tools. So I've got my Active Directory domain name, so I can have my users there for testing purposes. So users and computers. So if you wanted to set up a few test accounts, then obviously you could do so nice and easily. There's my domain setup, TMSM, and hopefully that gives you an idea how to set up the domain controller in Azure. So of course the two main steps are to remember is, first of all, you have to do some configuration at the console level before you actually go into the server itself and configure the rest of the domain controller roles and features. So hopefully this has been useful for you. The next video in the series will be creating another virtual machine which we will then connect to the domain. So hopefully you enjoy this video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.